Alright, I'm starting streaming. I'm going to need to grab the link to the stream, which is right here. Already started. I'm going to go put it in streaming and recording. And I think going forward, I'm going to start making a document. Ooh, my throat is still sore from the Royale yesterday. This is going to be rough. I think I'm going to start making a document of stuff to talk about, because I do have stuff to talk about. Like a not insignificant amount of stuff that I would love to cover, including escapades with another Volvo, including my baby, including rails with trails stuff. I don't know if I'm going to hit this all while we're doing it. We will have to see. How far does the track go? The track goes to right here.
So I got this.
What is that?
It's a claw machine at Dave & Buster's. You play until you win. It's a rubber duck. No! He's gonna destroy it.
He would absolutely destroy it. That's not even a joke. He would kill that thing.
And then I got this. So next
Good
time
evening, Mopac.
Next time we go back, we can play.
Oh, nice.
And then there's...
Hello, Sherry Dunbar.
There is a DC and Marvel game there. And you play and they give you cards.
Oh, never mind. That was the Star Trek game. Yeah, that's the best game.
I got Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got General Zog. General Zoo. General Zog, no. Then Arkham Knight Batman.
Okay.
And then I got the Juggernaut from the Marvel game. And then I also got Vision.
Some Marvel and DC stuff in there?
Yeah, they're back to back.
Oh, okay.
It's two separate games, but they're back to back like Marvel and DC.
And this is one of those where you collect the cards, and if you collect them all, you can get like a gajillion tickets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so hang on to those cards.
Of course. But also, there's a DC game that you can play. There's an Injustice game that you can play on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
And if you scan the cards, you get like special abilities. You get to
That's
unlock
cool.
the character right away.
That's cool. That's cool integration. You don't see that too much, but I guess arcades are doing whatever they can to survive.
And the same thing with these ones too, the Marvel game.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously we gotta show off the giant.
The pupper? Oh.
Giant crewmate.
Our new pet.
Our new pet.
Our new incredibly sussy pet. I keep flipping over to the to OBS instead of Trainz, and try to continue playing the game from there. Doom 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 doom.
And look, it's got an official Among Us tag. It's an official Among Us merchandise.
Stop posting about Among Us. I'm tired of seeing it.
I brought it home, and Lafayette immediately thought it was a chew toy.
Yeah, he tried to eat it right away. He determined that it was sus, and tried to eat it. No, I do not have a new Discord server. It's the same old Discord server. The link is the same. It's the same. Literally is the same link as before. Some things have been altered a little bit. We actually have had... We've done what has been termed the 2022 Server Modernization Plan, which is going alongside a few things. I mean, I've talked about where the Iron Horseman Chronicles is now, and also the trading cards, which if people want to buy trading cards, you have to contact me directly now. But there are still like 10 packs available. That's good to hear. College class schedule. I hope it's not too bad. Graham also got his today. I was looking at his. He doesn't have classes on Friday, which is pretty cool. I don't think I ever got away with that. I would always just... It never bothered me to have classes all 5 days of the week. But what bothered me was if I had to get up early. So I would prioritize not having 8 a.m.s. So I would just stick with 10 a.m.s. Do I need to restart the server? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means in the context of Discord. Oh man, that blows though. I mean, at least you get it out of the way though, right? Especially what kind of math are we talking here? Are we talking calc? Because I would not want an 8 a.m. calc class. Couldn't get any later. Happens. Yes, go ahead. I left home without putting my necklace on this morning. Um, Thank you.
I love you.
I love you. Uh, yeah. I really prioritized having later classes. It didn't bother me. I had some classes that ran until like 7 o'clock, and I would usually go from there straight to the model railroad. I remember that being a thing. Once upon a time, when RPI had a world-renowned model railroad that was in model railroader like once every couple of years. Very, very cool. And by in, I mean on the cover of. It's called Transitional Math. It's math for dummies because I cannot math. That's unfortunate. Can I see the server, please? There's a link in the description of this this thing. It's in the description. You can see it. You can go to it there. Um, so that's unfortunate. We do have some. There was math tutoring going on in the Discord earlier today. Like within 10 minutes or so of me starting this, there was math tutoring going on, and it wasn't me tutoring, which is a pleasant change. I like to see people helping people. I like to see the community come together as a community of people that are all friends with one another, as opposed to just all being there because I am there. That I won't say that irks me, but it does make me very happy to see the community working together on something. No matter how menial it is. I mean, math tutoring's one thing, but even if it's just like, oh, I want to play a game with somebody, if they get together a squad in War Thunder, then I think that's pretty cool. It's something that happened without my input. It's something that happened without, without me saying, hey, we should all do something together. Because as fun as that is, I'm not the only person with the power to make events and pull people in. And we should all be trying to hang out with one another, even if I'm not there. I think. I think it's very cool. There was a call of like 15 people. Maybe I'm overstating, but it was at least a dozen people that was running the other day, and I couldn't join. And it was a lot of people that I hadn't talked to, or in one case, it was Seaboard, who was like brand new, which I believe he was in the server at the very, very beginning, and then left because there was someone that was hounding him across all of Discord, uh, that had taken up residence in our server. That person is no longer present. This was years ago too, so Seaboard has come back, which is cool to see. I like to see it. Um, I fixed the Southern P10. Cool. I didn't know it was broken. Who pinged me? Oh. I like how you're chatting me up in Discord DMs and also in the stream chat. Please, I'm not going to respond to DMs in the middle of the show unless they're like super life-threateningly important. Like something's exploding and I need to attend to it. I'm not going to answer DMs. Hey TBA. Where were you when Pan Am was killed for the second time? Oh man, it kills me. It upsets me. I mean, I know I've been a pretty staunch, like, anti-merger individual, and, it's, the writing on the wall has been there. I'm not surprised by this, but I was just hoping beyond hope that something would happen and we wouldn't get this merger. Um, hey, Stellar. I am. Oh, my window is all messed up. Hold on 1 second. Let me fix my. Pan Am is dead. Pan Am is officially dead. Or well, it's going to be. It is 100% a falling flag now. It's not a fallen flag quite yet, but it's a falling flag, and it'll probably be gone within a couple of months. I am working on the terrain work between. Man, I've got so far to go. Between Mason's Landing here and this as of yet unnamed town, which I may name Pan Am. Yeah, I think I'm gonna name it Pan Am. Look at this awful Penn Central grain. Um, merging with CSX. I'm not gonna name after the guy who founded Pan Am. I don't think he deserves to be commemorated in such a way. No, not oh wait, not like the original guy who founded the original Pan Am. But no, I'm gonna name it Pan Am because that's funny for a town name. Uh, yeah, rip Pan Am Airlines. Well, now the corporate trademark is free again. You know what? You know what we should do? We should buy the Pan Am trademark. I mean, how much can it be? The Iron Horsemen are gonna become Pan Am version 3. Pan Am is now, we're not doing planes, we're not running a railroad, we are making trading cards. We are Pan Am. Uh, I mean, I would say that, things named Pan Am are just doomed to fail, but I feel like we knew that already. Pronounced Pan Am. Uh, Panama. Pronounced Pain Am. But yeah, um, so yeah, there's that. How about first planes, then trains, now boats? No, no, no. I'm gonna stand by what I've been saying for like a year now, which is that SpaceX should buy the Pan Am trademark, because then, I mean, Pan Am Spaceways, that's awesome. That sounds cool. I would fly Pan Am Spaceways. I mean, I probably wouldn't, but uh, I'm totally down for Pan Am Spaceways to exist. And I mean, Elon Musk is all about like buying things for no reason. Uh, so I could see it. That's my my hope now. That's my canon. We're gonna become Pan Am. We are, or he is. Yeah, I'm excited to point-to-point starships with Pan Am Spaceways. There you go. Uh, I'm excited to see. Speaking of things that the Iron Horseman has been doing, I am excited to see how the trading cards are. I mean, everyone that's received them seems to be happy with them. I mean, for the most part, everyone seems to be happy with the quality of them. Some people have not got the cards that they wanted to get, like Matt. But I actually wanted to dig into my methodology there, especially if Matt comes around, because he asked me a question about it. I also have an outstanding question on a previous episode that I need to touch on. If Bender shows up, I hope he tells me to check on that if I haven't yet. I don't want to answer it with him not here, um, because that's the thing. But I may well answer it later in the show if it becomes clear to me that that's the only way I'm going to be able to answer it. Pat years haven't come yet. That's a shame, but some people are getting them. Some people are getting them. Matt got them. Milky got them. They arrived at Hemlock's house in the United States. Oh, OBS reconnected. Weird. That was at least a very short interruption. But yeah, people are getting them. Pat, I hope they make it to you in short order. I have one more package to send out, and then there are like two more where people have to finish their surveys so that I can send them out. But otherwise, it's been going pretty well. It's been going pretty smoothly. Nobody's reported like them being damaged or anything like that. Um, the only thing is just, luck of the draw. Some of them have turned out pretty weird. Milky got 4 844s. Matt got 3, um, not SP18s, but LS&I 18s. SP18 was not in this pack, but it will be in the next one, probably, the next batch. If and when that happens, because that is a collaboration with Railroads Online. It's yet to be pitched to the powers that be of Railroads Online, uh, because there's been a lot going on with that. If you're aware, I don't really need to dig into it. There's enough that's been said about it, but it has, at the very least, sort of pushed the Spline update back a little bit because of in-game asset replacements that need to be made in the short term. Uh, because of that, we may be having one more recording session of the Bacon line in Railroads in the current update, and we'll hopefully be filming that sometime over the weekend. I was originally going. Oh wait, it's not this weekend. That's Edaville. I was originally going to go to Edaville, the 75th anniversary. I just heard the park is for sale. But Main Locomotive and Machine was actually putting on the 75th anniversary of Edaville, running 11 and 3 together on what's left of the old main line, which would be very cool, but I have nobody to go with, so I'm probably not going to go. The tickets are 75 bucks, and despite the fact that Kickstarter just paid me, my bills this month are kicking my butt. So, you know, if you want to buy trading cards now, know that it'll help a brother out. But in seriousness, it's not like I'm going to be in hot water or anything. I just can't put the money away for future endeavors that I would like to this month. I was hoping to set some cash aside for the upcoming trip to Shreveport, because I know I'm going to need to spend bungo bucks on a roomette for the ride home. And that is a pretty penny. It's actually more expensive than 6 months of car insurance, which is what I have to do now instead, because I got my bill for car insurance, which has gone down by quite a lot, but not by as much as I would hope. I mean, I would hope it would go down to zero, but that's not, you know. Emotional Day up in Buffalo, I assume you're talking about the Summers. It's Summers, right? Uh, one pack equals 20 bucks for Ellis insurance payments, yeah. Um, I think everything's going to be okay in the short term, or in the long term with the destroyer there. It The power went out, and they and the boat sank, but it's not like it's sinking into deep ocean. It's the riverbed there is like 10 feet down. Sullivan's, thank you, not Summers. Summers is a different ship. Um, I knew it was a plural and started with an S, but bottom line is, I think long term it's going to be okay. They've got divers down there. I'm hearing optimistic sounding things. I don't want to get all like foam or BS mode, but it's not the worst thing in the world. This thing wasn't being towed through Chesapeake Bay and came loose and went under. It's sitting right next to the dock. Um, and they just got a $500,000 grant to do work on it, so it's not like they're strapped for cash either. It just Everything sort of happened at a bad time. Um, it could have been a lot better. Obviously, they could have got it into dry dock and patched up sooner. I think, if I remember right, it settled a little bit, and then the screws ground on the riverbed and pushed up into the hull and made a big hole, and then it started taking on water by the stern, as you can see, from the images that are out there. But this is me just gleaning stuff from the Drakenfell Discord, uh, which still waiting on a picture of myself and Drac that isn't the back of my head, because there was a group photo that was taken underneath the guns of USS Massachusetts, and that sort of hasn't come to light yet. I know it's out there, but anyone who has it has not posted it. Um, oh yeah, that's right. That's the good sinking that happened today. I mean, an eye for an eye, right? A small price to pay for salvation. Yeah, Russian warship, go yourself. The Moskva was hit by an anti-ship missile from Ukrainian shore forces while being distracted by a drone, because its radar can only detect things in a 180-degree cone, I guess, in front of it, from what I understand. Not its like main surface search radar, but just the anti-missile targeting radar. I don't know what you would call it. The radar that targets small and really fast stuff. So they were focused on this drone and they got hit by a shore-based anti-ship missile, which is awesome. Um, Allegedly, there was. Okay, I'll lay it down. The Russian government has said about 60 different things about what happened to the ship. None of them are probably the full truth. We don't know what all happened, but we do know that the ship is gone. So, uh, until some intrepid Ukrainian farmer gets a scuba suit and a tractor out there to the middle of the Baltic Sea, needless to say, thank you, fire control radar. No, no, no. I do not apologize for sounding like a ship nerd. I am showing my not ship nerd credentials by not knowing what the hell I'm talking about. I've said it before, and I know I say I've said it before a lot, but I am an individual who knows a lot, or sorry, who knows a little about a lot. And we will very often, in talking about everything from current events to finances to even Trainz route building, which is, what I'm here for, we will hit the limits of what I know. And in some cases, that may just be terminology, but in some cases, that may just be a strict limit on what I know. Because what do you know? I don't know everything. I'm not a teenager anymore. I don't know everything. Uh, I mean, at this point, if there was a point along the way where you were hoping Russia did not lose the war, I don't really know where that came from. I mean, I can understand there was a lot of propaganda, a lot of it was fairly well orchestrated, but at the same time, the US government was sort of telegraphing everything that was going to happen for like a month in advance. It's not. It really shouldn't have been a surprise to anyone when Ukraine got invaded. Um, it wasn't even really a surprise to Ukraine. They knew this was coming, again, because the US was telling everyone, like broadcasting it on every possible channel for months. Uh, but bottom line is propaganda, and we're not all impervious to it. Uh, I mean, we still don't know if the ghost of Kiev is a real person or not. I mean, allegedly, he is, or was. Allegedly, he was a former, uh, he was a pilot in the Air Force who did a lot of shows, and that's where a lot of the footage of him comes from. And then he was shot down after 7 aerial victories. But we don't know if any of that is real. Some things in the story don't line up, but it's tough to just say, well, they made it all up. We know that some of the video was created by just some dude with War Thunder, but that doesn't necessarily discredit everything that he could have done. It could have just been an overzealous fan. Who knows? Same, I'm surprised they decided now to send IFVs and other armored vehicles. Well, Russia could still win if they mobilize 90% of their society. Yeah. No, I mean, they can bludgeon Ukraine to death with by just chucking bodies at the problem. Not something that Russia is unfamiliar with. But and it seems to be, from what I have heard loosely, that the local, the internal Russian propaganda is not failing, despite the protests. And I don't know. It's just sort of a question of what happens now. Japan has taken the cuffs off. They're sending all sorts of supplies to Ukraine. Um, from everything lost to finish talking trees. I was hoping this would be a repeat of that. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. But where's I don't know enough of the lyrics to White Death to sing any portion of it, but just imagine that I'm expertly singing Sabaton's White Death. Uh, these are looking pretty good, actually. Time to die. I keep going back to the video of Joachim with the blown up condom because I think it's the funniest thing on the planet. I even referenced it earlier because TBA said he was going to be in, I quote, a fucking band, and I just I just grabbed the screen cap of it with Joachim holding the condom at crotch level. So I was like, okay, yeah. This is a fucking band. Uh, I don't know what they teach you in school. I, I I get a kick out of his accent too. I need to catch up on Sabaton history because there you just get the most of him talking, and that's what tickles me a little bit. I'm not gonna say I have a crush on him, but you 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 know, no further statement is required. Um, okay, so we need to keep working on this. I guess I'm just focusing on the mountains here and not really forwarding the slope any. I know we've done a lot with the slope. We've been working at relatively high percentages, probably higher than I had initially anticipated. In there both for the memes and the lessons. I'm there for all of the above, memes, lessons, and I think the music is absolutely freaking fantastic. Um, it actually shows up. Oh, I gotta fix Iron Horseman radio. I'm sorry. Give me a moment. Um, I need to set something up. So hold tight. On the Discord server, some of you may know, we have a thing, a channel called Iron Horseman Radio. And for a while it was unused because we didn't really have a bot that would use it. Recently I found another bot that could use it, and I'm using my alt account to hold the bot in place. The alt account is the Iron Horseman. Um, excuse me. I must have mistyped something. There we go. Okay. So go into here, go into Iron Horseman Radio. I'm gonna deafen myself also. Bot control, Iron Horseman Radio, play. So this uses the song of the day. We have a thing called Song of the Day. Once a day, somebody can post a song and say Song of the Day, and it becomes pinned, and it goes into a giant playlist, which is almost 1,000 songs now. And that is just going to get played 24/7. So if you ever wanted to listen to a bunch of random stuff. Oh, why did it just pick up there? Hold on. Iron Horseman Radio Q. Oh, it is still shuffling. Okay. So that's perfectly fair. That's perfectly great. Anyway, that's gonna carry on. Bismarck is really good. I think Dreadnought is ooh, I can't say better, but I listened to Dreadnought more times in a row than I listened to Bismarck in a row. So anyway, Iron Horseman Radio is back on. It should be playing. It should play pretty much 24/7. There will be gaps in there when something happens, like I lose power, like I did earlier today. But otherwise, it should hang in there. One of the new neighbors has a band. Join it, Pat. Join the band. As the Who says, join together with the band. Uh oh. Someone's getting yelled at. The cat's getting yelled at. What's the cat do? What's the dog doing? So I did want to talk about my methodology for trading cards. If somebody wants to let Matt know that this is happening, then that's fine. There we go. So for those who don't know, I ordered 500 trading cards. These were across a spectrum of 16 different locomotives, 5 different rarities. There were 2 of the most and least rare, the most rare being a legendary card, and the least rare being a standard card. There were 5 class 3s, which is the lowest rarity that isn't standard. 4 class 2s and 3 class 1s. I won't list them all off right now because I don't have them memorized, but bottom line is that's what it was. Each standard card I had 50 printed, so every pack would get a standard card. there were 10 of each legendary, 20 of each class 1, 30 of each class 2, and 40 of each class 3. So you can tell already that things are heavily weighted in favor of the class 3 cards, and legendaries are pretty rare. They would be in about 20% of packs. No pack has more than one legendary, so they should in fact be in exactly 20% of packs. That doesn't mean you have a 20% chance of getting one if you just grab a random pack, because the odds were skewed slightly by the people who got guaranteed variety. But what are you going to do? Either way, um, so I got all those cards, and I set up the guaranteed variety ones first. Those are the easiest ones to do. I numbered all the cards. So every card, all the standard cards have a number 1 through 50. The legendaries have numbered 1 through 10, etc. The class 1s have numbered 1 through 20. And, my thought was they're unique, they're collectible. Somebody might want a specific number of a specific card. Uh, you know, that sort of thing. I ended up with the Southern 4501 number 1 card, which I'm going to drive a harder bargain than I would for any other random 4501, I would say. And, that was sort of my thinking there. So I had these cards. When I made the guaranteed variety, I randomly selected, and every time I say randomly selected, I'm talking a random number generator. I'm not just grabbing at random, because humans are not great at being random. So I didn't want to trust myself with that. Randomly selected cards for all the guaranteed variety packs are randomly selected the numbers of cards. Guaranteed variety was relatively straightforward. I set up all the packs with one of each. So, for example, if you got 4 packs in guaranteed variety, you would get 1 of every card. But because every pack had a standard card, you get 2 of each standards. And then you would get 2 other cards that would be chosen completely at random. And the random choosing of the cards was weighted, so there was not an even chance to get a class 1 or a class 3. It was more likely you would get a class 3 than a class 1 in a given thing. And it was to make sure that the selection was evenly distributed across the whole of the packs. So that was done. That was, the easy part. And then I started making the rest of the card packs. And, everyone gets a standard card. Every pack has 1 standard card in it, so I would basically flip a coin. What I actually did was I just laid them out one after the other, after the other, after the other. So I would lay out 1 Everett 11, and then I would lay out 1 LSNI 18, and I would go from there. I would go down the line. So I would have alternating, and then I would just make the packs on top of those cards as starters. So each pack would be, alternating. I'd make one that had a standard card of Everett 11, and then I would make one that had a standard card of LSNI 18. It doesn't really make a difference that I did that in the end, and you'll see why. But that's what I did to keep things as random as possible. And that was like layer number 3 of randomness. So I created all those packs using the weighted randomization. I found an app for it. There's an app for that. And then, once I had created every pack, I numbered every pack. And then I randomly selected those packs. So those of you that are receiving packs that did not have guaranteed variety will have a number written on your pack, or on one of the envelopes of the pack. That is your pack number. That is how I selected that pack for you. And at this point, I had completely lost track of what was what. I shuffled them up so that it wouldn't be like, oh, the high numbers were the first ones I made, and the low numbers are the last ones I made, or vice versa. Again, wouldn't have made a difference because of the weighted generation. The probability of getting a certain card is the same no matter when your pack was created. Guaranteed variety notwithstanding. And uh, and just sort of went from there. And then every time I put a package together to send out, every time I put an order together, I randomly selected from the randomly generated card packs, and I think that worked really well. Uh, it did lead to some weird artifacts, obviously. Like I said, Milky got four Union Pacific 844s. Gloria got two Strasbourg 89s, and Graham. Matt got zero Everett 11s. So, you know, it happens. You get RNG'd, but that means that you've got reason to trade for things. I was tempted to see if I could grab one of Milky's 844s, even though I already have one, because I figure they're not worth a ton to him, and having two 844s, that's a pretty good bargaining chip, I would think. 844 is a good engine. Very capable in the game. Getting 844 seems like an insult. Yeah, no, it's true. It's a weird one. But it is still a mid-range locomotive in terms of rarity, and it's one of the better engines in terms of power. So, can you really complain about that? Um, at least Milky got one of the WP engines. Oh, and I'm adding too much land again. I just started drawing out, which is not what I really need to be doing. So yeah, I am looking forward to seeing people trading and talking about what they have, etc. But bottom line is, I'm really excited to see what people get. Like, I want to know what people get. I am psyched for that because I don't know what was in everyone's pack. I have no idea. I know I made sure that there was no more than two of one locomotive in a given pack, so you couldn't get like three uh, three Strasbourg 89s in a singular pack. But I would allow duplicates, so you could get two of one in a pack. And people would buy multiple packs. You roll the dice again. You could get duplicates again, like Milky did. Um, and yeah, that's just the way the RNG goes, and I'm really excited to see what people got. Yeah, and that was my two rules. It was I could not put the same card in a pack more than twice because I wouldn't put the same card in a pack like back to back is the word I'm looking for. So I wouldn't be putting in one FEC 148 and then I would roll the random number generator again and I'd get another FEC 148 and I'd go, well, I guess this person's getting two. I'd say, no, okay, I'm going to roll it again. But if on the third roll I got another FEC 148, then that pack would have two of those. Meanwhile, if I put a legendary card in a pack and then I rolled another legendary card, I would say, no, we're not doing that because I don't want to accidentally concentrate the legendaries. I felt like that was too unfair because they're pretty rare. A given legendary is only going to be in one of 10 packs, so 10 out of 100, and that's not great odds. It's pretty good compared to rare stuff, compared to like properly rare stuff, but it's not great. And these hills are a little bit pointy, and I don't like it. Pull my. Anyway. So. Yeah, you do whatever you want in your railroad. I'm super excited to know what people got. Let's see if anybody got anything lately. No, not yet. I'm waiting to see Ryan's results. What's this? Oh, Cruz Ramirez appeared. I see. How's the bot doing? It's playing All I Want for Christmas Is You. Uh, this is the problem with having a playlist that gets updated year round. Christmas comes, and then people put Christmas songs for Song of the Day, and then it comes around to not Christmas, and those songs are still there because they're not going anywhere. Um, so, if you want to listen to All I Want for Christmas Is You in the middle of April, it's not even like close to Christmas in July, you can tune into Iron Horseman Radio right now. You can even do that if you're unranked. You don't need fan rank to, you know, a bit late or a bit early. Hmm? It's just early for Christmas in July. It played a Thanksgiving song this morning. I really do love doing this. I love the radio. I love the randomness of it and the collaborative effort of it. It's a music playlist designed by a schizophrenic. It's playlist by committee, and it is atrocious. Like it's mostly good music, but it is just atrocious. Um, oh, what happened? Oh, somebody hopped in there and left. Oh, I'm gonna be hearing that, aren't I? I need to mute that tab. Hang on 1 second. Um, mute site. There we go. I think that should do it. Let me check. Yes. So that won't be a problem now. We won't hear that again. All right. So we've got some rolling hills in the distance, looking like the Grand Tetons. I don't know if I'm going to because this guy's got to go like up this way. Christmas Truce and anything and Carol of the Bells by Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I will listen to that any time of the year. I mean, I will listen to Bruce Springsteen's Santa Claus is Coming to Town on a whim also, but that is a Christmas indulgence for me, really. I don't tend to listen to it other times of the year. It is in this playlist somewhere, I'm pretty sure, and so I'll probably hear it because I have taken to listening to Iron Horse and Radio at work because, well, in part I want to make sure that it works. In part I like doing that little collaborative, like you see someone hop in for a song that they like. If I was sitting there and Hemlock joined the call, I knew there was a Lord Huron song coming up. If Pat came and joined the call, I knew it was going to be something baseball related. Like, I saw Sweet Caroline coming, and I thought to myself very briefly, this seems like a song that Pat would join for, and then Pat joined. So, you tend to get a feel for what people will listen to and also what people will tolerate that they don't normally listen to, and you also get a feel for, like, what people will specifically show up for. Go fascist or communist as New York. Um, some people would say you're already both, but you probably don't need the extra manpower, so I would go communist for the extra political power. But I don't really know. Having extra political power doesn't really help you all that much. No, and Pat, I get your snaps. I know you listen to a mix of things, but I know that if there's a baseball-related song coming up, it's I associate you with baseball more than almost any other person I know. There are people that are probably equal or greater than, but maybe it's just you and your hats, man. That's done it for me. But very few people, not very few people care about baseball, but not too many people really will dig in and talk about it and follow it like thoroughly. And I feel like you're one of the few that I know that will do that, even for teams that aren't yours. Like you love it for the love of the sport more than you love it for the love of your individual team, which is good. I think that's a nice way to go about life and sports in general. Is just to, almost the John Boyce approach of like we're gonna see what happens in this game. Which, speaking of baseball and John Boyce, if you like either or both, or even possibly neither, the fourth and final part of Captain Ahab, the story of Dave Steeb, came out. worth a watch all the way through. I think it is slower and not as engaging as their previous content, like the history of. I mean, they're never going to top the Mariners, but I will actually touch on multiplayer survey in a second. Uh, but I don't find it to be as good as things like the Mariners or the Bob Emergency or the history of the Atlanta Falcons, which I really did enjoy, even though I was the bad guy. But you know, I still enjoyed those salty tears. Um, in seriousness, it is not maybe as good as those things, but it has the moment that I don't think is present in the other ones so much, which is killing the whale, so to speak. Um, Spoiler alert for the captain or for Dave Steeb, he gets his no hitter in episode 3. Um, but he doesn't get into the Hall of Fame, and I really hope that something happens and he eventually gets into the Hall of Fame because, I mean, sure, a 4-part documentary on anyone will make you like them or hate them, I guess, but at least put them on your mind, and it just makes me feel like he deserves it. Um, yeah, and I did call you out on Lord Huron, Hemlock, but not in a bad way. I just know that you're like my Lord Huron barometer on Iron Horse and Radio. I know if you show up, Lord Huron's coming. See you, Stellar. So, anyway, multiplayer surveyor. Let's talk about that for a second. I don't really have any experience with it, aside from the previous, multiplayer surveyor in Tane, etc., or in 19 rather. I forget. We're 2 versions removed from Tane now. I am a little excited for it, but I don't find myself looking forward to participating particularly much because I just don't really have the time to get involved with something like that. I will absolutely, if people are interested, do set up for it. Do the overarching like plan of what we're doing in multiplayer surveyor again because I have fun with that. It's almost a game unto itself. But it's it's probably not something I'll be invested in. I'm glad it's coming. I'm glad it's happening. Uh, anyway, will munitions be a load on this route? Mutations. I think you mean munitions, but you did say mutations. Uh, I haven't thought about that. I haven't thought about an ammunition factory. There may well be one, but I don't know if I. Let me see real quick if I have munitions just as a let's see, type, right? Or category, commodity. I don't have munitions or ammunition as a commodity, and I don't think I have a Yes, my love. Thank you. I don't think I have a Cats on the Crate. A car that can carry munitions. I'm gonna just check on download station instead. Yeah, there's 38 caliber ammunition for coast artillery. Uh,
You gotta put all of the little terms.
yeah, exactly. I I was just asked if we're gonna have munitions on the route. There's also a Mars product. We're not gonna do that. There's a munitions van, but that's British. So yeah, we don't really have a way to transport munitions. We could have a munitions factory though. In fact, I'm gonna go write that down on the ideas because I haven't thought about doing that before. Brick factory. Well, actually, do just industry ideas. Brick factory. Sorry, I just need to organize my thoughts really quick. In Tombstone, perhaps, and then we will do munitions factory, although I don't know where that's going to be. Auto parts plant in Zion. Oh, these need to be indented. Yeah. Okay, so I don't know where we're gonna have that, but there's definitely an opportunity to have that. Anyway, I do wish I had more unique commodities, but ah well. The railroading is a lot of general goods. Matt should just be here soon. He said he was sitting down to eat. Well, I'm sorry he missed the doodad. He missed my explanation. So, I guess I'll just move on to the other. You know what? I need a lozenge. Hold on one second. My throat is going to kill me. Me? I'm getting a lozenge. What did you think I was doing? What the heck? No, I said my throat's killing me. Good lord. I did not say anything. I said nothing. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Can I help you? Hi.
I'm gonna start eating now.
Okay. So, we need to get track up here. I'm not entirely sure how. What is this area of the map known for? Farms. This is all farmland. In fact, Pan Am is probably going to be a small farm town. And then, Bellington is going to be a larger farm town, and there will be some industry here in South Bellington. And I will be talking like I have a list until this lozenge wears off, but honestly, I need it. My throat was starting to hurt after, not under construction, after the Royale yesterday, and I have not yet recovered. Honestly, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is rough for me, for my voice. For doing the Royale, and then doing this, under construction, and then doing, oh crap, we are underground. Am I losing ground? Wrong thing. The answer is yes. Whoa, what happened here? Okay, we're gonna have to up the ante a little bit. I wanted to go in a straight line, and I wanted to be relatively flat, but I guess that's not happening. I thought this area was relatively flat. Did the cat just jump? Beckman doesn't like pickles. Did he get scared of the pickle? Yeah, because it's, grade kept the average you set. Yeah, no, I don't... I thought I'd flatten this area out a little bit more, is what it comes down to. How far underground am I? That's actually not that bad. I mean, we're climbing at a whole %, which is not what I wanted. But I guess we're just going to have to suck it up. Unless I want to turn... We can't really... We can't use this tile, but we can use this one. So let's see if I can get away with a shorter or a lower gradient. Yes, sort of. That actually looks even better. We'll have to straighten this out when it comes down to it, but like that. Alright, let's keep adjusting. So I figured out a new way to play Kerbal Space Program. And I don't think this is ever going to make it to a video, so I'm just going to talk about it here, because frankly, I don't really feel like recording it. It's just something for me to do when I'm not recording. And it's something for me to do with Gloria, because we don't spend enough time together because I'm recording too much. It is... Oh crap, that needs to be straightened, doesn't it? There we go. So Gloria likes seeing rockets go, and I like flying rockets, which is cool. And I sort of wanted something to do together, but I wanted to play Kerbal Space Program, so my solution was this. Gloria is in charge of the administrative functions of the space program, and I'm in charge of the actual, like, rocketry functions of the space program. I build and fly, and Gloria does all the, picks out the contracts, does the research, that sort of thing. And we do this with effectively minimal communication. We're doing it so that we confer, like, before and after missions, and that's it. Oh, nice. Yeah. Going to Jewel is like starting a whole new... Oh, no. I just realized I did this without undoing that. Son of a gun. Alright, we'll have to do it again. But at least we know what we're doing this time. We also know we need to straighten this. And we'll go at like a 0.8 because that seemed like what was wanting to have... What the game was wanting to do. Like over here, right? The other thing is, I talked about Lord Huron, and I talked about the schizophrenic playlist and on the music bot. But the thing is, that has actually introduced me to quite a lot. I probably wouldn't be a Lord Huron fan if it weren't for Iron Horse and Radio. I mean, maybe Hem would have indoctrinated me over, the duration of Operation Apollo, because they did spend a, substantial amount of time in my car, but I think I would not be nearly as much of a fan as I am now. I wouldn't have had time to develop that palette, I suppose, because it's different. And my introduction to them was hearing Frozen Pines on Iron Horse and Radio. And at the end of the day, I do kind of hope that I'm not the only person that this happens to. I hope that other people tune in and they hear a song, they don't know what the hell it is, but they end up enjoying it and end up, picking up a new band or a new genre. Because that on top of what I was saying before about people sort of making their own communities in the Discord, or, out of it or whatever, because of it, that's what makes my day. The thing is, I think these curves are too tight. I'll draw that back a little bit, and draw that forward a little bit. And I need to remember that these are supposed to be 4-track main lines. Hemlock does that to people, but also I think Lord Huron does that to people. If it wasn't for Einor, really, you wouldn't be a Sabaton fan. That's actually kind of cool. I'm going to apply this gradient here. We are going to go around this as long as I haven't crossed. I haven't. I wonder if I could just make a straight line between these two things instead of curving over to the right and then over to the left. Let's see. It doesn't look too bad. Where's this at versus... That's actually almost spot on. Wow, it could not be better. The issue is... Oh no, we can use this tile. Because it is that tile as a buffer. Yeah, let's connect these. Never heard of it had plagued me, and now I've been listening to Strange Trails 20 times from beginning to end. You know what? I need to listen to Long Lost from beginning to end again. I did it once when it came out, and I don't think I can say that I didn't give it a fair shake, but I didn't really enjoy it my first time through. And you know, since I've been going back and rediscovering things that aren't called Strange Trails, I think it's time for me to give Long Lost another shot. I don't know about Lonesome Dreams. I do have to get to that one eventually, but how come I can't connect with this? There we go. Yeah. I mean, that's just it. You know what I need to do? This is going to hurt to look at, but we got to switch on the wireframe so that we can see these tracks underneath while we're trying to set this up. Probably shouldn't have deleted these because I actually really did like how they sort of, you know, went through the went through the landscape. You know what happens? I'm realizing I look over there and I think about it clicking on something and I don't click on it and I screw myself over. But I do think that it's helped us find a better path through this whole area. That is a kink if I've ever seen one. That is a railroads on line style curve. Also, everything looks like it's hovering now, which is the disadvantage of wireframe. The other disadvantage is just burning your goddamn eyes. Alright, turn off the wireframe. Let me see again. Yeah, I mean, Kerbal Space Program, I can't say enough cool things about KSP. I am eagerly awaiting KSP 2. I know it will be done soon TM. But it's one of those things where I don't care how long it takes to get here, I'm going to enjoy it when it does. And speaking of things that I've been waiting for a long time, Mashinki finally has multiplayer. And there have been some murmurs about doing a video with Heis and the gang in Mashinki, which I think would be a lot of fun. I don't own it yet, but I will at some point. It's been on my wish list forever, and now that it has multiplayer and there's the prospect of actually using it for something, I may up its priority just a little bit. You know? So that's that. And now this is 0.79, that's 0.98. Sorry, it's 0.83 now. Nope, it's different if I zoom in. What the heck? Alright. Yeah, that works. We're avoiding all the edges. We're coming a little close. We skimmed the corner here. We narrowly dodged that corner there. And now we are heading onwards and upwards, which I will try a 0.5 gradient going forward. Turns out that's actually kind of too high. See, I knew there were flat portions in here somewhere. Okay. I did want to go straight, though. I kind of wish that was an option, just to lock it going straight, like Transport Fever. No, I guess I'm doing a slow and subtle curve to the left. And we are getting ever higher. So we'll try 0.4 as a gradient value then. See, I never was much for reusable launch platforms. The thing that put the kibosh on my first attempt at doing what Gloria and I were doing is I killed Jeb in a plane crash because I don't know how to build planes. I never figured that one out. And then I felt bad about it. And so in preparation for us playing again, I actually watched a bunch of tutorials on how to build planes in Kerbal Space Program. I don't know if that's pathetic. Obviously watching... Hello, comrade. Obviously watching the tutorials isn't pathetic, but it's just that it was completely reactionary. I did not decide to learn because I wanted to learn. I decided to learn because I killed someone. Not my finest moments, anyway. Okay. You know what we can do with this? We can measure it out like this. No, I was holding shift, gosh darn it. Oh no, I was holding enter. Oops. I think that's straight. It's actually pretty darn close. So that means we need to go to the right. That's a way to do it. It's a beautiful quote out of context. Well, now I don't know what my quote was. Oh, yeah. I learned because I killed a guy. Yeah. No, that is actually a good quote out of context. I'm good at those. Sometimes purposefully, sometimes not so much. Um, I mean, killed a guy out of context. I mean, it reminds me of the time I was asked to join the mob. But that's not a story I should really tell on here because I could get in trouble, you know. Alright, so we're still moving. We're still going. We're grooving. The train's grooving up here. We're going to have to take a slight left at some point, but we need to make another topo line. And in fact, I think we're going to continue climbing at a relatively minimal rate. Because we have a relatively steep climb through here, which I probably am going to want to name because we've got some relatively intense terrain for plains areas. And then we've got the one sharp curve right here. If you can call it sharp, I mean. It is pretty sharp, actually. Compare it to our curve at Olive South Interlocking, which is like twice its radius. It is pretty sharp. think it's even sharper than the Slop Ridge curve. But it does take up most of a tile. So there's that. I mean, I might end up pulling it back because it really isn't making much of a difference. Oh, and I've finally crunched the thing. Yeah, I might want to rejigger that curve. But yeah, so topo lines time. We're actually going to keep following this, and we're going to probably go... Let's go just here, I guess, and we'll build a line like this. So 4M standard bump. So that's that. We may want to do another one, but we actually run out of... okay, you know what? We will do another one. We'll do it like right here. Yeah, no, I'm not so much worried about the weather, but you do have to be conscious of what the weather does to your landscape. There always needs to be somewhere for water to flow, but when the area is this flat, it's really kind of tough to work that out. Which I'm going to check on the cut here. Yeah, that's very, very reasonable. I am doing a lot of work to avoid relatively minimal terrain alteration, which is not necessarily the smart thing to do. Because I could just be building a straight line, which was my stated goal here. Oh, crap. I actually need to go slightly to the right. Because we're about to clip the corner of a tile. There we go. There we go. Okay. Yep, ditches and culverts are really important no matter where you are. On the Great Plains is one thing, but there's also, you just have to... Oh, I grabbed 4M standard. I grabbed 4M solid. Damn it. What a fool am I. What am I going to do about this? Well, I'm going to bulk asset update and replace. Assets to update. Replace with 4M standard bump. Oop, 4M standard. There we go. We're keeping true to ourselves. 6658. It's one of those things where to do the appropriate amount of culverts and stuff is actually rather difficult. Because they are so frequent and because that kind of granularity in Trainz landscaping is not the easiest thing to accomplish. Oh, I need to make another vertex over here. Oh wait, no I don't, it's right here. Grab this vertex height to 6759. I should have built some topo lines in ahead of time. But this is as far as we can go because this ends over here and it's actually higher. Or it was, anyway. Oh, sorry, it's lower. This is higher. That was... I just screwed that one up. And we're just going to continue what we were doing. I mean... Nothing really groundbreaking here other than the physical breaking of ground. But okay, let's go and grab that other comment from last time and I can rant about that for a little bit. So, no, Fort, my house does not love me. Listen to you see last night, I heard your views on abandonment versus rail trail. My question is, why not both? The Washington, Idaho, and Montana Railway has existed for over 100 years now, the route at least, but since the 90s or early 2000s, it has existed only between two towns. The rest of the line between was in disrepair, so the PCC railroad listed the line as embargoed. The line is long dead, and truth be told, service will probably never return, but I would argue it's the best of both worlds. It is used as a rail trail for the majority of its length, if you wish to brave it, since it's gravel and an early 1900s railway, but the railroad still has the capability to come back, at least since the easement is technically owned by the Moan Watco, I believe. The embargoed WINM section is 26 miles of ballast and trestle. I think there may have been a rail to trail conversion talk in the past. I think most people with four-wheelers use it. I just want to, before I continue here, for the most part, I know people talk about paved multi-use paths, but at a very basic level, that is a rail trail. What that just described. It's the same as the Douglas Airline Trail in Massachusetts and the spurs off of that. It is just a gravel path in the woods that exists for people to walk or bike or ATV down or snowmobile down in the winter. And, well, ATV is usually excluded. They have bollards and things saying no motorized vehicles, but you know what I mean. That is the sort of thing where that is the initial purpose and the basic idea of a rail trail right there. I don't necessarily mean a paved bike path. And I would say that that is not a rail with trail either. I wouldn't call that both. I would just call that a rail trail. It might not be paved, but they don't have to be. It's serving its initial purpose, its stated purpose of it's maintaining the easement, it's maintaining the right of way, it is making sure that nothing happens to it in case you want to put tracks back. For another point, the four rail lines into Moscow, Idaho, from the northwest and southeast. When the railroads left, there were two lines in the same direction, but over different geographical areas. BN raised the old interurban line, leaving not even the bridges. But when abandoned, the UP line into Pullman and the NP line down to Kendrick, Julietta were favored for rail trail conversion. The old NP line over Sunshine Hill takes a more backwater and steeper route, whereas the UP line follows the highway in a shallow valley. I believe it's around 20 to 25 miles of rail trail in between Troy, Idaho, Indiana, and Pullman, Washington. Many people walk, jog, and bike the trail. So, not knowing if that is everyone feeling deprived of Everett 11 lately? Hey, Matt. So, that isn't both. And I wouldn't say it's the best of both worlds. That is really, bottom line, that is just a rail trail. It's the stated goal of a rail trail to have an easement that is maintained, a right-of-way that is maintained. It is really nothing, I don't mean to say exciting, but it's nothing special or out of the ordinary that is maintained and that it hasn't been paved yet. It's just the way it goes. So, both is really more like a rail with trail. I brought up the Blackstone Valley bike path during the last conversation about this, and that has a active railroad right-of-way alongside a paved multi-use trail, bike path, and it works well enough. They aren't really alongside because there wasn't enough horizontal width in the right-of-way to make them right alongside. However, they are, they are both present and they both go to and from the same location. So you have a rail trail. You have a trail and also a rail, I should say. So the issues with that are namely, well, if you have a wide enough right-of-way, there's really not too many issues, but people will get concerned about putting up appropriate fencing to keep people off the tracks. You've opened up a huge section where you're attracting people, but also have an active rail line. So there is a safety problem, potential safety problem if not mitigated properly. And there's the cost of it. And there's also, you don't necessarily, plenty of the sentiment towards rail trails on the public side is driven by uh, wanting a multi-use path, but plenty of it is also driven by, well, we're going to have an antagonist known as the railroad. That doesn't always happen. I would even say in a lot of time it doesn't usually happen, because most of the time a rail trail is not attacking an extant railroad, but just going after a right of way that is abandoned or to be abandoned. So it's not. I just feel like we're talking up different trees here. I feel like if those are examples of a compromise to you, which I could understand, I would argue that it's not really a compromise, because you can only have one or the other. And the question is just having one now and one later, or just, and the alternative being switching over to a trail permanently by paving it, etc. Like I said, once those things are set in asphalt, it's really tough to get enough public sentiment to want to remove them, especially because the right-of-ways are no longer owned by railroad companies. At that point, they're owned by municipalities, and then you have to be the mayor that throws himself at the sword for the sake of the railroad company. And if they're not lining your pockets, I don't really see anyone who's going to do that. So, you know, there the advantages of having a rail line over having a rail trail, like I talked about last time, they can be a little bit unclear. People don't really want to deal with the train. People don't want to be stopped at crossing gates. People don't want people to be hit by the train. People don't want to deal with the noise and the pollution. But the bottom line is, they, assuming equal amount of industrial development, etc., and this is just talking freight lines because, the commuter services are a question of their own, that I talked about last time, those advantages are not going to be very clear, because you tend to write off the stuff that you see in traffic. You don't tend to think, wow, those are a lot of semi-trucks, I hope nobody gets hit by them, wow, they're damaging the road a lot. You just think, oh my god, so much traffic, and you don't necessarily equate the train existing to a reduction in road traffic, which again, induced demand, it may well not be. But that's just something to throw out there. It's a thought to have. And I don't know if that is something that really crosses much of anyone's mind when this thing comes into conversation. Again, because the options aren't usually active rail line or inactive, or paved rail trail. It's usually a question of inactive rail line or gravel path in the woods. If something gets abandoned, properly abandoned, and gets sold to someone that isn't the state, that doesn't want to take care of it, that sells off the individual parcels, or voids the easements because they're not maintaining a contiguous right-of-way anymore and holding the charter to the railroad that built it, then that's a different story, because then it's just going away entirely. That's really what happened over here with the Woonasquatucket Greenway. It exists not really as a continuous rail trail. There's a lot of pieces missing. And there's a lot of detours where it veers around to get around developments or to get to developments. The right-of-way probably would have never been wide enough for a rail with trail, but that is generally the compromise that gets talked about and looked at by foamers, because it's people that want to get rid of a rail line, active or inactive, and replace it with a trail, paved or not paved. And people say, well, why can't we have both? What if they want to reactivate the rail line someday? Which is understandable. What? Oh, you need the water? 1 second. Matt did get his cards. You know how he wanted Everett 11s? He got none.
I'll trade with you.
He got 3 LS&I 18s. Which, do we have a thread for this now? Hold on, I'll just ping you in here. Now that'll show up for you. We have a thread so you can talk about your 2 Strasbourg 89s, and if anybody wants one. Nice. Um, well, heat them up. Stick in the air fryer for a minute. Put the toaster up. Oh, okay. I am getting hungry, but I'm halfway through here. I got another hour and a half or so remaining. Gotta keep yapping my yapping my trap over here. Where are the boys? Are they on the couch together? Oh, that's so cute. Did you put that in the fan chat? Thank goodness. Um, I don't need the P10 right now. I don't really need engines right now. I'm just trying to build terrain. Love you. I love you. Part of me wants to tune into Iron Horse and radio like on my phone or something and just have it in one earbud so that I can concentrate and work, but it would probably take away from my talking ability. But that would mean everyone else could tune in at the same time, at least the people that are in the stream. Yeah, no, that isn't a great idea. But you know, like I said, we have it again. Hooray for radio. Radio Gaga. Which, just making sure it's still running. What is it playing now? It's playing Obla Di Obla Da. And then it's going to play eBay. The Weird Al parody of I Want It That Way. Speaking of eBay, no, I did not buy an Observestibule. It went up from 20 bucks to 200 bucks over the span of a day. And if I'm not buying Edaville tickets, I'm definitely not buying that. Last time I checked, it was at $350. A little bit out of my price range.
What'd you buy?
Nothing, because I'm not buying it. You know that observation card that I hate, the Observestibule that has the door on the back. There was one in brass. It was for sale. It was a bid on eBay. I haven't told them about your Volvo yet. No. Decent N scale starter set. I don't find most starter sets to be decent. I feel like starter sets are great if you're a small child, but otherwise you're just gonna want to pick up some track and whatever you want. Just start accumulating stuff, you know. But Gloria was looking at a 1996 Volvo 960 with the facelift. It was 1,100 bucks on no, it was on Facebook Marketplace, right? Yeah. So it was 1,100 bucks on Facebook Marketplace, and the person was looking for, you know, trades or just our best offer or whatever. And I decided, why not? We'll check this thing out. It has some issues, but it's way under, you know, it's well within the price range, and we have a Tony. So you might be out of town, right? Yes, I think so. Could you turn that stuff off for me, actually, please? I had it on to look at the server. So anyway, we got there, and this thing is neat. It had a sound system in it that's been removed. What? It had a sound system in it that's been removed, unfortunately. It's got a car alarm, which I didn't realize a 96 Volvo would have. It's got a you know, it's automatic everything, automatic power seats with 3 memory settings, sunroof. Yeah. What do you mean? What, Dean? What is it? What are you whatting about? We're looking at a third Volvo. Get over it. It had like cool lights apparently, and it had like HID headlights, which is not cool, but whatever. It also had a, what the hell was it? Well, it had a dead battery because that is an electrical problem. which slowly drains the battery. I guess if you keep it on a trickle charge, it should be fine. But also, if you just disconnect the battery when you're not using it for long periods of time, it also will be fine. We brought a new battery to it, but unfortunately it wouldn't start. There's probably something wrong with the starter solenoid. It's been sitting for probably 6 months, which is unfortunate, but you know, these things happen. The guy is going to continue trying to get it started, and he'll get back to us if he can. Um, so, yeah, Gloria does really want this car, like more than I had anticipated. So, oh, I need to decrease this by 10%. Or, yeah, 10, 1%. 0.1%. Um, point one. Oh wait, negative point one. Yeah, so we went and checked it out. Unfortunately, couldn't start. Left without it. Not the end of the world. We were going to continue looking, but hopefully we can still get this car eventually. Uh, the I'm forgetting something that was neat about it, and I can't remember what it was. Um, Only at like 150,000 miles. Oh, that's right. The Angie eyes. It On the headlight lenses were painted big angry eyebrows, which I thought was hilarious. And what? Yeah, and Gloria also it drew their attention, and I was like, yeah, okay, this is like the perfect Volvo for you. You want an angry Jeep, but we can get you an angry Volvo for now. It's a 6-cylinder, 24 valve doodad, which not great engines as far as Volvo goes. I mean, not much can stack up against the red block, but it's something. You know, it'll last. And worst case, if it explodes, there's a New York City apartments room of space in that engine bay. You can put in whatever you want. Uh, I wonder if somebody's put not like a rotary engine, not a rotary engine, a triangles, in a Volvo, because that would be kind of funny. Is that a rotary engine? I don't know what that's considered. I need to watch that RCR again. It's been a while. Somebody put bigger air in a Volvo. That's what I need to know. But it was a sedan. Not really anything to write home about in terms of adding utility to the set of cars, but it would be glorious. It would be theirs to maintain and, you know, take care of and insure. Um, Although we'd probably do a joint insurance policy just to make life less of a headache. Think that is a rotary engine. Uh, yeah, Gloria would just be paying for their portion of it. Which, woohoo, new driver. Always cheap insurance for a new driver. Mine went down, but I gotta pay it. I talked about at the beginning of this my financial woes of crap. I gotta pay for insurance. Gotta pay for car insurance in case I kill someone again. Yeah. I was talking about how I killed Jeb in Kerbal Space Program when we were playing, and that made me kill that save, end that save, and go learn how to build a plane. Yeah, which I would like to do more of that with you. Now that I'm more confident with my plane building, I feel like I will kill Jeb less. Or if I do kill Jeb, I will suck it up and carry on because that's what we do. Um, I'm not sure if these terrain tracks are going to work. You may notice I'm going off the edge of the map, but or I'm going through the corner of the map. I don't know if these are going to work. Honestly, I should just fill in the corner with whatever. With plateau tool. That will be permissible. We are way far away from the tracks too, so nobody's going to be looking at this except for at a great distance. I mean, to figure out how the roads cut through here also. I know that's a totally random thing. But I should have engineered this landscape a little bit more. I probably should have thought more thoroughly about where the contour lines were going to be and drawn them first. I think going forward, that's something I'm going to do because it will allow us to have smoother transitions and just a more cohesive terrain overall. Gloria Ellis swaps this Volvo just to spite Dean and have an angry sounding Volvo. All Volvos sound angry if you disconnect their exhaust. Trust me, I know. Not by choice, but I know. TJ also knows, also not by choice.
I'm getting this Volvo because I need a car.
I know, yeah, no, you're getting the Volvo because you need a car. It's a good price. I mean, $1,100 for a car that runs asterisk is still a pretty good value. Um, and we may even have taken it home if it didn't run, if Tony was not out of town for 2 weeks. But we seem to be locked in with this guy. Maybe somebody else will come and cart it off with it, and we'll end up finding something else. But hopefully he can figure out how to get it started, and hopefully it's just a problem that has occurred from it sitting too long, and it won't recur. Um, I know that the battery draining is probably some sort of electrical gremlin, and those things are notoriously difficult to take out in Volvos. They really get dug in there unless you want to buy a new wiring harness, and even then, uh, the Swedes can make a nice car, but they can't put electronics in it for much. So you really just have to suffer through that kind of stuff and figure it out. My solution was to just add a disconnect switch, just find out what is the max amperage that the battery will put out, like when you're cranking the starter, and throw in a disconnect switch, either on the dashboard or under the hood, that you can just disconnect the battery easily and not worry about it draining on you while the car is parked for any length of time. You know, you pull up to a store, disconnect the battery. That might piss the radio off. I know that is a thing, but it has an aftermarket stereo, so I don't know if it'll make a difference. I know the original stereos required a code if they lost power, and I sort of remember the 240's code because I've had to put it in a handful of times, but I don't really remember what it was. I guess people were really concerned about stealing the entire stereo unit out of it. It's not even. I mean, I guess that's what you do when you steal a stereo. I don't know, man. So let's. I mean, I don't think I had anything else on my imaginary list. I want to see did anybody else say what they got. No, not yet. You can tell that I am all over this. I mean, I've been all over the trading cards since the beginning. Um, since when we started them, and the fact that we've got some like out there in the world now, that makes me immensely happy. Need to rewire the entire 240 because yeah, no, that's true. Somebody tried to do their thing and it did not work, and now things are screwier than when they start. When they probably screwier than when they started. I don't have my heated seats, which again I'm not really lamenting, but I kind of wish I had them just to say I had them. My car's stereo safe 52. It beeps me when the car shuts off and the face as the radio pops off. Yeah, no, my aftermarket stereo in the 940, the face pops off. But the original stereos did not. I guess just because they didn't want to be that kind of head unit. Uh, yeah, I know Wyatt, you and him are sort of bound by them getting back across the border to retrieve their cards. I eventually figured out that I could do Canadian shipping, but let me tell you all a story about going to the post office. Not that anything bad happened to me at the post office, like, ooh, don't go to the post office, bad stuff will happen. No, the post office is like the best institution that America has ever come up with, not gonna lie. I'm not saying that the post office, like the postal service, is an American invention, but the USPS is probably the most beloved government agency in the country. So, most universally beloved. If the battery disconnected, does it also turn off the clock? Yeah, that's true. It will turn off the clock, but that's easy to set because it's just an analog clock. So, I mean, I don't know if Gloria's going to look at the clock on the dash. We don't know if the clock on the dash works. It usually does. It's like the last thing to go sometimes, but it's uh, it's a small price to pay for not trickle charging it all the time. So that is really just a kludge until Tony figures out what's wrong with it using his god wizardry and fixes it. So at least that's my solution. It's Gloria's card. The post office, right? So I've made these trading cards. I figured, maybe I can just cram a bunch of them in an envelope, like a small envelope. One of the, if you received them, you received 5 cards in 5 small envelopes. I thought maybe I can cram one of these, 5 of these cards in one of these envelopes and ship it for 58 cents or whatever postage is right now. I later realized after I received the cards that would not work at all. And I started to come up with alternate solutions anyway for the people that ordered more than one pack. And I realized, I can use flats. I can use flat envelopes. The flat envelopes are only like $1.40 to ship. So instead of charging people individually by number of packs that they ordered and shipping for those packs individually, then I can lump them together. Then I can lump them together. I could not change what the shipping was already, so people were just stuck with whatever they were doing because the Kickstarter was already going. Oh well. It ended up kind of saving my bacon. We'll talk about that in a minute. Because when I arrived at the post office with my envelopes filled with stacks of trading cards and envelopes, so it was a little bit envelopeception, I was informed in no uncertain terms that unfortunately these things could not go through the machine because they would not bend. And so they could not be shipped as flats. And I said, uh-oh, now what? What are they going to have to be shipped as? And she says they'll have to be shipped as parcels, which is a lot more expensive. I said, oh no. So they ended up being, if you received them, you actually probably have a sticker on them that tells you how much I paid to ship that individual thing. They cost $5, give or take. Some of them cost like $5.20. Some cost maybe $4.70. If you had a singular pack, the lady who was working there cut me a break and shipped them as an envelope that just said "Do not bend" on it, and that was like $1 and change. So I at least recovered on that, or I didn't recover because shipping was $1 and it cost me $1.07, but it was better than the alternative being $5. Still, I think made out okay because I got a really good discount on the printing. Thank you, Vistaprint. And, totally equipped to make another batch of cards, knowing now extra stuff. Just gonna have to up the shipping, unfortunately. So, with that in mind, that is just shipping to the US, and shipping to Canada is like 3 times that. So, while I will provide that as an option, I advise most people to just ship to the United States if you have somebody that's in the US that can bring them to you later, or that you can go get them from later. I know that is not a very common occurrence, but I'm going to, I'm going to allow that. I'm also going to put an option for hand delivery, I guess, because if you are in the state of Rhode Island and you want to come pick them up, or if you want me to just hand deliver them to you when I get the opportunity, then I'm fine with that. The only thing is, if I add an option like that, then I am limiting the amount of money that ends up going to the Kickstarter proper, and that is, in and of itself, potentially a problem. I learned other stuff, which has to do with the ordering of packs. I believe now I know a way I can set up the thing so that you can order as many packs as you want. A pack is about 1 ounce, so I should be able to ship, if I can cram them in an envelope, I should be able to ship a, up to like 16 packs without incurring significant trouble. We will have to see. But yeah, so unfortunately, shipping is going to be more expensive than it was, and it's entirely possible that the cost of producing the cards is going to go up a little bit because I have learned some important lessons with the way that Kickstarter works, and of course with the way that shipping works. Before, I was being a little bit hopeful, keeping the price at $5 a pack, 6 including shipping, hoping that I could ship them very cheaply. I could not. So the shipping can no longer subsidize the cost of actually making the packs, which means the packs might end up being $6 a piece and then $5 shipping, which I hope that doesn't break the bank for anybody. Um, if it's the end of the world and you can't get 2 packs, you can still get 1. I don't. I'm trying to advertise my own product, but I'm not gonna be like, it's a great deal, it's a great deal, because yes, it is. I think a good deal, but shipping is still expensive, and unfortunately, I can't control that. I can't find a way around that. That's just how much it costs to ship these things. Um, but I learned. I've learned. I've learned that, and so I'll know more going forward. And again, hopefully, if the next batch is the Railroads Online batch, which it'll probably be that, or People's Choice, or maybe sets for one of the 2 railroad museums I have the retail contact for, which is the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania and the California State Railroad Museum. That, I think, is what the price is going to look like. The next batches, if I do a batch for the California State Railroad Museum, it'll probably be a different batch numbering. So it'll be like M01 instead of 001 or S01, because it'll be specifically batches for museums. And I think that should be feasible. Like that. Because my goal with that is to just charge them $500, create the cards, send them to the museums, and then they can do with them whatever they want. They can shuffle them into packs, or they can just sell them individually for a couple bucks a piece, or whatever. I'll send along instructions. But if they want me to make them into packs, that's going to be more expensive because then I have to ship them here and then I have to ship them there. I don't really know what else to say on that. Maybe a flat rate box would do me better. I can investigate doing that. I should have probably weighed the package when I received it. But if I know each pack is about an ounce, that means it was about 100 ounces, which 100 ounces divided by 16, quick maths, 100 divided by 16, makes about 6.5 pounds. That's not all that expensive. It's a box full of paper. It's not that bad. But, that, I mean, paper can be heavy. Have you ever lifted up a box of printer paper? It's not light. But this is a different story. It's mostly air and envelopes, and then 100 or 500 trading cards. If I do have to make them into packs and then send them off to whatever railroad museum, I will of course charge for that, and they can probably sell them for $6, $7, whatever. Last time we had a goal through Kickstarter of 500 and change. A lot of that was due to Kickstarter cost. If I could do this not through Kickstarter, I would almost definitely be able to keep the cards at keep the packs at $5 a piece. But unfortunately, I have to do it through Kickstarter because I don't really have a way of keeping track of and taking orders otherwise. Like a really collective way, like a well done way, one that doesn't mean me going after individual people to get their PayPal information or give them mine. Which, speaking of individual people, I have a ping, and it is. I have a ping, and it is not about special order trading cards, but I do have now a total of 4 that are underway. Well, one is already shipped. That is Mason's. He has 1225 cards. So if you want PR Marquette 1225 cards, you can probably talk to him. Uh, Meanwhile, the two other ones, the Southern Pacific 4488 cards are in the mail. They're on the way to Ace Republic in California, and he will. This. I'm not over the corner yet. I'm wondering if this is gonna like crash the game or something. I should probably save. Okay. Um, they're on their way to him, so he's gonna have 4488 cards. I might see if he'll trade a 4488 for an 844, because I would love to have a 4488 after the blood, sweat, and tears that we both put into making that card. So, meanwhile, the the 2174 NW Y6B special order is on the not on the way. It's underway. It's almost done. Um, it just needs to be paid for. The picture is all taken care of. And I will say, going forward, for any special orders, the cost of getting the picture will be added to the $20 that it costs to make and print the things. It's not a huge lift for me to make a singular card, so I'm not like worrying about charging labor or really making a profit. I've talked about that. There's not a lot of profit to be gained here. I'm just trying to sell these at a level where people can buy them reasonably, and I'd like to break even. Again, the thing that makes me break even is Vistaprint discounts. I don't know if that's a good thing or a really bad thing. I never claimed to be a good businessman. But anyway, the special order cards now will come with the caveat that you, as the requester, will also pay for whatever licensing fees need to be gathered for the creation of a given card. Now, I will try my best to minimize those fees and present options of, okay, this is what this costs, this is what this costs. And the fellow at the fellette at the Rare Museum of Pennsylvania cut me a deal. Thank God, because otherwise I don't think we would have these cards. It was going to cost $60 to make them instead of the 20. But I got a deal on the rights to the images of 4488 and 2174. So those cards could proceed at normal prices. But going forward, if you want a special order, I will be more than happy to put one together for you. But the caveat is not without knowing that you're going to pay for the picture, and pay for the card. But it doesn't really cost me anything to draw up the card in Excel, which is what I Google Sheets, which is what I used to actually make the things. It might cost me a little bit of effort if the locomotive is not on a Locobase, because then I have to go and find sources. I have to bug Tyler. I have to talk to Stephen West about getting it on the Locobase before I can make a card out of it, because Locobase ID is a stat. And yeah, that just sort of, while it is important, and while it might be a pain in the butt, it doesn't cost me anything other than time and a couple of emails. So I'm not, again, I'm not charging for labor here. I think that, the difficulty in getting these cards together has been primarily getting the imagery, and we were lucky on the first batch that all of those famous photos have been posted in places where you can use them for free, like on Wikipedia. So, yeah, that is important. like I said, I will do my best to make sure I can get one for free. I will explore my contacts. If it's a currently operating locomotive, there are probably photographers that someone in the Horseman knows that can get a photo. Um, the difficulty comes with older or more obscure engines. Some of the oldest engines, yeah, photos that are taken, they may be out of copyright, or even if you wanted to skirt the edges a little bit, no one knows who holds the copyright, so no one's going to go after you. But they usually end up in the hands of historical societies or museum archives, which do care. And bottom line is they're maintaining these massive archives. They deserve a couple bucks for using them. So, you know, I'm not about to try and pirate photographs off of museum archive web pages. Just they can sometimes charge through the nose. 25 bucks for the licensing fee for the Rare Museum of Pennsylvania on top of the archive fee was a little bit steep, but we've seen worse. In the hunt for a 4488 photo, we found places that were charging hundreds of dollars, but we also found the Denver Public Library, which was charging all of 50 cents. So the reason we didn't go with that is because it was an image of 4488 being cut up, or halfway to being cut up. We decided that probably wasn't the best photo to have on there. So we decided to go with something else. And, like I said, made a deal with Ace, made a deal with the Rare Museum of Pennsylvania to use their photograph and to get it for, without charging Ace 60 bucks for the card overall. Pretty happy with how that turned out, and I hope he's happy with the results. I hope he receives them and they are in good shape. Let me check on my ping finally. Beta up now as well. Oh, whistle posts for, I see. That's cool. Alright, it's 9:07 and I've done this chunk of area. I'm not sure if I'm going to really do much to this area other than just flatten it. I know I keep using the terrain tools to sort of make it uneven, but I don't know. See, the thing is, I make it uneven and then I make it too uneven and then I panic and do stuff like this, where I'm dodging the unevenness. But railroads are only so straight. They're usually very straight, but they're only so straight. It's not gay if it's underway. Okay. This corner I will deal with later. This corner I will deal with now. As flat as a pancake, Kansas, I believe, is scientifically flatter than a pancake. So, whatever you want to say about that. I would like to model Pan Am after Ellis, Kansas. I don't know if that's asking too much, but I would like to do it. Little caboose on display or something. Wouldn't have ever been a junction or anything. Where's the boy? Oh, he's in his screen. I hear something. It sounds like the cat's eating his food. Which, honestly, I'm not bothered by. I know Kansas has rolling hills, but they're not over the whole thing. Taco Bell dinner. Oh boy. Okay. Nebraska's the flat one. They're both pretty flat, dude. Push it off on someone else. Yeah, no, that's the flat one. Okay. Pan Am. We're trying to get to Pan Am. We need to get to Pan Am before it ceases to exist. That's the goal. Nevada does not exist. No. Nevada is kind of a rounding error with regards to federal land. It's like mostly federal land. But, you know, there's still some people that live there. Nevada doesn't exist. I was gonna make a joke about like running away with a Las Vegas prostitute or something. I couldn't put it together in time because I was thinking about too many different things. East California, yeah. Well, every state needs its east and west halves, right? There's Eastern Oregon and Western Oregon. They might as well be different planets. And so I guess Nevada is just Eastern California. Um, it's California, but with less Fornia. Oh, with less California. Never mind. It wasn't showing the whole word up. I thought that was funny. It's California without everything except for the O, because when you see the nuclear bomb blast, you go, "Oh wow." Yeah. So there was my methodology on trading cards, Volvo updates, uh, response to Bender and Rail with Trail. Oh well, I didn't really cover it thoroughly. I wanted to say that Rail with Trail is difficult most often because of right-of-way constraints. The reason people want to move in and make a trail on an abandoned right-of-way is because it's there. You know, it isn't necessarily because they want to oust a railroad or never have a train again, but it's because this strip of land is doing nothing for us. We should do something with it. And people, given the choice between a train and a trail, when they have neither, a lot of people are going to pick the trail because they just don't want to deal with a train. Again, even if the train would make their lives better in one way or another, people don't want to deal with it. But yeah, now leaving something as a gravel path, that is a rail trail. That is a rail bank in the truest sense of the word. It is a right of way being rail banked for future use and set aside at current for public use, usually, um, without voiding the easements, etc. And I do think I talked about that later. On my train that's been gone since 1983. Yeah, I understand. See, tornadoes. I don't even know. I don't know how valuable an alternate route would be because you can patch stuff up pretty quickly. Tornadoes, they do a pretty limited swath of damage. It is a lot of damage, but it's not. It's confined. It isn't like a hurricane where you've destroyed an entire city. Oops. You know. Oh shucks. I miss. I must have misclicked or something. I swear I clicked on that. There I go again. Being confused. We'll fill in this corner also. We'll fill in this corner on our own time. So I'm just going to keep working on this. Nothing real exciting. I mean, I'm going whole hog with this. We have totally got to the flat part, you know? There really shouldn't be anything else that pops up here in terms of interesting stuff to do, so Greenville, Kansas would like you to take that back. Well, relatively speaking. And having an alternate route plan is smart. I feel like, though, if you are looking at two lines and you abandon one because it's too redundant, they're usually pretty close to one another. And I know what I was just saying about the tornadoes, but then you don't know which one it's going to hit. And the cost of maintaining a railroad is one thing, but even more than that, the cost of property tax on a railroad will drive a railroad bankrupt if they don't have much else going on. I feel like in no small part that was why the state taking over the Housatonic Railroad, or states plural, taking over the Housatonic Railroad's right of way out from under them, despite seeming like, oh no, the government's coming, and the railroad is dying, it is a huge weight off their shoulders because now all they have to do is deal with whatever lease agreement or trackage rights agreements that they might have on those lines instead of worrying about maintaining them, worrying about paying taxes on them, just whatever. This one isn't mothballs, it's a lot of local traffic plus Amtrak. Yeah, and that's understandable. Uh, there are plenty of places where having those parallel lines hanging around makes plenty of sense. There are plenty of places where it might not. I feel like in general a rail corridor is better off as a railroad than not. Uh, Even in urbanized places where you might want a bike trail. You know where you can put those bike trails? On a road. Shift some lanes around, put up a barrier, build a bike trail. Build some bike lanes, like some good bike lanes, not like unprotected crap next to 3 lanes of strode. I'm talking some extra sidewalk area, a separated bikeway. There, you've done it. You've in a downtown area, you probably have not impacted congestion all that much. Um, and encourage people to do things other than drive their cars. Uh, and use that rail corridor for transit. You know, because then you can shift some stuff around. Then you can provide people 3 options. Whereas if you removed the railroad and just put in a bike path, people still only have 2. More options is better. More mode share is better. Because that way, if we're talking about redundancy, if something happens to one of them, you can still use the other. Of course, barring historic weather events that shut down all of the above, but that doesn't matter how many you have if it shuts down all of them. Then again, trains are pretty resilient against bad weather stupidity when compared to cars. It's just nice to have. Yeah, and this whole discussion about like rail trails, etc. Don't for a second think that I'm having it because I'm advocating for rail trails, even if I'm trying to cast them in a positive light. I think everything deserves its fair shake, and at its heart, especially if you consider its heart being rail banking, but at its heart, a rail trail isn't necessarily an anti-railroad proposition, and we as farmers don't really need to get up in arms every time somebody mentions the word bike path, or words, mentions the phrase bike path. Yeah, there's reasons to try and defend rail corridors, but that doesn't make bicyclists the devil, you know? We can all keep our heads on our shoulders, collectively. The Nashville Star. Oh yeah, is that that's their commuter rail, right? Bike lanes are good, yes. I did watch the Well There's Your Problem bonus episode on bad bike infrastructure. That was wonderful. Bike path greater than Walmart Supercenter. Yeah, but what about bike path to Walmart Supercenter? Hmm? Bike path to Walmart Supercenter that receives things by rail. Um, yeah, and we have some that have started to appear over here. The bike infrastructure between me and work, I would say, is lacking, but there is a bike path. I rode my bike to work today. Walmart should have bike paths inside the store because that would be fun. Um, Take it from me, someone who bikes. Uh, I too bike. I woke up this morning and I had my clothes picked out by Gloria. So that was one less thing I had to worry about. But I took a quick shower, I made my lunch, and I realized, wow, I have plenty of time. How weird is that? Because I couldn't really sleep well. Um, I woke up a bunch. I didn't feel tired, but I I know I did not sleep a lot. You ever have those mornings where it's like, all right, my body is ready to get up and start the day, but I would like to sleep more just because I didn't get to do it. Uh, and so I decided, well, what the hell, I'm going to get up, 5 minutes early or whatever. And did what I did. And then I realized, well, it's really nice out. Gloria said something like, it's going to be 70 today. And I went, I'm going to take my bike to work. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take my bike to work. It is mostly downhill from home to work. And I didn't take the bike path because it's not very direct. It's like the opposite of uh, like the Danish, the like Netherlands concepts, where it's like, okay, if you the bike and pedestrian routes are more direct and straighter, because they actually take like real human effort, and the car routes are more circuitous, but they all take about the same amount of time. Yeah, I think it took me about the same amount of time, but that's because of traffic, not because of circuity. Because I decided to ride on the road and on the sidewalk. There's no bike infrastructure on Manton Avenue. There's no bike infrastructure on Manton Avenue because there's a rail trail like 2 blocks over. Unfortunately, that 2 blocks over involves going way out of the way to get to the beginning of it, down by the Woonasquatucket River, and then going up a pretty, well, several relatively substantial hills. Yes, it's a rail trail, but it still has got hills on it because not all of the right of way was preserved. And ain't we all want trams? Charlie Good. Point is, it's not very straightforward. It's not very level. It's kind of a pain to bike, especially when you've got a backpack with stuff in it. And I decided not to do that, and I had a grand old time getting to work this morning. And I decided to take the bike path on the way home because I figured, yeah, I'll use it. It's here. I won't have to be on the road. What a thought. Um, Sucked. Not gonna do it again. Uh, and I'm not saying the bike path is a bad thing. It just isn't convenient for me. So I'm gonna stay riding on Manton Avenue, and I'm probably gonna get hit and killed by someone in a lifted F-150 or some maniac in a lowered Honda Civic. So, wish me farewell. But when I talk about the hills on this bike path, I'm not saying that the railroad had steep gradients. I'm saying that it really weaves to and from where the right of way was, the right of way being down in the river valley, and the rest of the town being up on, well, areas that aren't the river valley. So there's a lot of elevation change along the course of this bike path. If it was built strictly on the railroad right of way, it would be pretty easy. But honestly, I'll take a route with some moderate hills over a route that is half flat and half steep as dicks. Because the flat parts, still you gotta put effort in, and the steep parts you gotta put lots of effort in. Whereas if you have some uphills and some downhills, yeah, you've got to work for those uphills, but you get the reward of those downhills. That's why I like biking on Block Island. Get a mountain bike for a reason. 3 gears are right as if it's a Shea Climax. Uh, I could have put on my high vis vest. I decided not to. Maybe if I ever am doing it, it's not broad daylight. I would. Um, but I probably should, especially considering I'm riding in traffic. It's the smart thing to do, but the smart thing to do would also be to have a helmet, which I do not own. I joked about wearing my hard hat, but I don't think that would save me on a fall from a bike. It might save me if a brick is dropped by like a swallow or something. But uh, like I said, I'm gonna die anyway. It's not gonna be from hitting my head. Probably it's gonna be from being run over by someone trying to get through traffic. So, you know, the other advantage of being on a bike is not having to stop for the school buses. Because F the kids, right? Uh, but in seriousness, I didn't have to. I didn't have an incident with a school bus this morning, but I am used to getting stuck behind them in traffic, and they stop and pick up kids along Manton Avenue. And really, no way around that. I'm not going to complain about school buses, but if I go, then I must heed. Yeah, I love the idea of like, oh well, if YOLO, if I die, I die. I was born to die. It's like, well, you don't have any sort of instincts of self-preservation of like, well, you can change whether you're gonna die. Probably. I mean, yeah, okay. Maybe if you believe that free choice doesn't exist and that we're all just locked into our paths in life and that we die when we die and we can't avoid that, yeah, sure, whatever, be unsafe. But like, I'd like to think that there is a choice between me getting up and going to bed or me getting up and drinking bleach.
What?
it so it's you can make choices to be not dead, or at least give yourself better odds of being not dead. So, you know, that's just my 2 cents. And I know practice what I preach. Do what I say, not what I do. I don't have a helmet. I don't have plans to buy one. But you don't want to just always throw caution to the wind. You don't want to do stupid stuff you know is stupid if you can avoid it. Um, okay,
Buy a helmet.
okay, buy me a helmet. I probably did have one at one point. I mean, I know I had one at one point. I've got no flaming clue where it is now. I used to wear it in college or at the beginning of it. Yeah, in the beginning of college. And then I stopped doing that because it was tough enough to have my bike everywhere. It was even tougher to carry a helmet with it. It's another thing. Well, and it's not really another thing. I actually parked my bike this morning in my old boss's office, or in my boss's old office, or whatever you want to call it. My former boss's old office. He's no longer with the company. His office is vacant, but plenty of room for a bicycle in there, and it's right by the door. So I wheeled the bike in, just parked it in there. Nobody said a word to me the whole day. I brought it up to my supervisor. She was like, "Oh, it's probably a good place for it." So I think I'm just going to slowly start putting stuff in there and eventually I'll move into this office and no one will tell me not to. I was told in no uncertain terms by the other fellows at the company that no one really wants the office. They cleaned it up after my boss left and no one moved into it and no one is really going to tell me not to. So, I don't know, might do that, especially if we end up changing to a flexible format instead of cubicles. The only reason I really like the cubicles, I talk about, yeah, no, not that kind of move in. I talk about the privacy aspect and why, how I can't really hear people and can't really see people over the cubicle walls unless I stand on a chair. But it's not about that for me. I don't really care if it's lower walled cubicles. What I really care about, even though I will protest the lower walled stuff, what I really care about is being able to have a workstation that is not flexible, that doesn't get occupied by somebody else on different days, that I don't have to check that is clear every time I come in, and that I don't have to pack up at the end of every day and put in a cubby. I don't have to pack up my docking station, my laptop, my monitors, my documents, my paper clips and pens and pineapple cup and coaster. I don't have to put that stuff in a locker at the end of the day every day because I'm going to spend 15 minutes setting up and I'm going to spend 15 minutes tearing down, and it's going to be a massive waste of my time. Uh, and I'm not going to do that for free either. That would be part of my day. I would end up burying it in a project somewhere probably. Because I come to work for 8 hours. I don't come to work for 8.5 hours. If you're going to make me come to this place, give me a place to be. That's just my thing. I'm going to Boston in like a week. What? Yeah. I'm going to Boston in a week. I'm going to be working out of the Boston office again because everyone's getting together in the Boston office. I have no idea what the setup of the new office is like. I know I won't like it. No, but I'm going to this annual thing because it's a thing that everyone's going to, or annual, monthly thing, because it's a thing that everyone's going to. And honestly, if I learn anything from Glastonbury, it's that it's nice to be in the office with human beings you actually can collaborate with. Um, the other thing I learned from Glastonbury is free food is good. So while the Boston office may not have free food, I've heard they have a hell of a kitchen, and I'm looking forward to checking it out. However, I am not going to check in advance. I'm not going to say I would like to reserve this seat in advance. That is my silent protest. They are going to put me where they can put me, and that's the only time I'm going to be going, once a month. Life is a highway, life is a railway. Uh, oh, that's a shame. Well, I mean, it's still there. The rest of the stream is still going to be there. The notification when the VOD goes up is going to be showing up in the announcements section of the Iron Horseman Discord server, which you can join in the description of this very stream /VOD. And it'll go up as soon as the stream is ready to be viewed at the proper... What? Ready to be viewed at the proper doodad. Your keyboard dying, I don't think would give you a 5. I don't know, man. Wired keyboards for life. Oh, I didn't take home the mouse. Oh, now I'm upset because I forgot. Oh, what is this? I will cover that in just a second. When I was at the Glastonbury office, there was a roller mouse, a rolling ball mouse, not like with the ball on the top, but one with the ball on the bottom, and it had a DIN plug. And wait a minute, I need to see if I have a plug for that, because if it's still there at the Glastonbury office, I want it. Ow! I just hit my head on the light switch. No. You want it on? Well, I'm incapable of turning things on. I think I have it. I have a DIN plug. Oh man, I need to text my coworkers in that office to see if that mouse is still there. Hopefully, with any luck, nobody's touched that desk, because I want that mouse. I have not had one of those in forever. I don't even know if it works. But I said I needed a mouse, and they gave me this mouse, which I could not use and could not plug in. But I was just awestruck to see the thing. I also went and got a wired keyboard because my keyboard was dead. So, wired stuff for life. I've got a wired mouse and keyboard on this computer. The only places I have wireless mice and keyboards in this house are for my laptop, which is sort of self-explanatory, and for the computers that are connected to televisions, because that's what makes sense to me. So Ian, just to give you the rundown, I'm working on another section of my massive mega project, the Tolbrin Peninsula. We are using terrain tracks to get a constant slope gradient of about 0.1 on this section as we work towards the town of Pan Am. And then we will be working down from there, across this river here, and into Bellington and South Bellington. I don't know when this is going to get done by. I don't know how quickly I'm going to be able to get it done. I know that I'm... sounds like... yeah, I named a town Pan Am in memory of Pan Am. Press F to pay respects. I suppose yeah. I mean, there are other options, but I like the idea of a town called Pan Am. They bought the rights to the trademark. Are you gonna post that every time somebody mentions Pan Am? PC connected to TV is pretty much the movie theater of screens. Yeah. Honestly, it's when I was short on consoles, and I had extra laptops, so I just started connecting them to things, and then I realized, well, I don't want to walk up to this television to control this laptop, so I'll get a wireless mouse and keyboard. Actually, the first reason I got it was so that I could be on the treadmill and play Total War on my living room television using streaming with the computer that we use for the Minecraft server, Steam streaming. Uh, Man, I think Tenerife is good. I mean, Tenerife is does need to be remembered, but like you know. Anyway, uh, I think it's been remembered plenty. There's even a well, there's your problem episode on Tenerife if I remember right, which I should watch that again because I remember that being a pretty good episode. Um, there we go. Yeah, I believe if I remember right, you posted them there Pan Am units. This is kind of a big corner to fix, so I might just continue and draw it across like that. There's the Mayday episode on it, yeah. There's also, I think, there's an episode of Black Box Down, which is another great aviation disaster podcast uh, on Tenerife as well. I think that was one of their earlier episodes. If you're into like aviation disaster stuff, absolutely check out Black Box Down. Um, it is an aviation expert, well, expert quote unquote, someone who knows a lot about the incidents and planes, and someone who knows very little about the incidents and planes, which I think is a great combination. Yeah, you can get it anywhere you get your podcasts. Uh, and there's also a sister podcast called Ship Hits the Fan, and I listened to the pilot episode of that, and I wasn't really drawn in by it. They don't there's no one among them that seems to be the really knowledgeable individual. They just like talking about the stuff. And so while it is kind of funny, I feel like there's a trend too often these days of podcasts that lean more on the funny of the jokes they can tell about the situation they're talking about than the details of the situation that they're talking about. I feel like, well, there's your problem has done a decent job of finding a balance in most cases. There are some episodes where it's very joke heavy, and I feel like I miss the actual disaster. Like the Y2K episode, I feel like I missed the actual disaster. I need to go back and re-listen to that one, perhaps. But on the other hand, there are your podcast can also be boring. I don't want to fall asleep, but I do want uh, to get the information that is being talked about. That I think is far enough. I mean, it wasn't a joke. There were errors and there were issues. It was not the end of the world, but it was a real computer bug that happened and screwed up a bunch of stuff. There were people that died as a result of Y2K because there were software systems in hospitals that due to the rollover from 1999 to 2000 and being coded poorly or without a lot of foresight ended up setting out or coming up with the wrong doses for people because it screwed dates up, etc. So how are all these things interconnected? Don't know, not a programmer, but that's that's a real thing that happened as a result of the Y2K bug. It isn't uh you know it's it wasn't doomsday, but it wasn't you know nothing. uh I like a little bit of both. I mean, information is the important part. uh I shouldn't necessarily say jokes, I should say more entertainment. uh but jokes are the easiest way to phrase that. In a well, there's your problem. They do tend to make a lot of jokes. At the same time, there's also a lot of information that gets disseminated during the course of a typical episode. At least a regular episode. The bonus episodes are something else entirely. Um, but the Black Box Down is more on the informational side, and the entertainment is derived from Gus's retelling of the events and Chris's questions uh, which, you know, despite not being funny, is engaging and entertaining. Um, you have people like Drakenifel who are very much on the informational side of things, but he still manages to throw in some sarcasm and wit over the course of an episode. It is heavier on the information side of things, but that's not a bad thing either. I just feel like if the scale tips too far towards the entertainment side, you're gonna lose the people that came there for, yeah, do not need solid. Uh, yeah, rest in peace, Franklin. That was a really wonderful series, and it really made me crave a city builder where you go through time. I will buy 100% whatever city builder comes out with like a technological advancement over the course of time setup. You know. Anyway, yeah, Do Not Eat is good, and everything he touches is fantastic. You know, I think about. I don't think I know that one. At least it doesn't ring a bell. But yeah, Ship It's the Fan. I just feel like it wasn't a. It's a podcast more on entertainment than on the actual disasters and the mechanics of them and the outcomes of them. Uh, Maybe it was just the first episode. Maybe it was because I knew about that incident prior. But you know, I'll give them I'll give them another shot. I just don't feel like listening to again right now. Uh, yeah, no, that is a yeah, the beating the bomber to death. I was actually just rewatching those. That was from the Guadalcanal series, right? Because I was just catching up on those, or you know, rewatching those because I never got all the way through that series. Uh, that may well be one of the best video sets he's ever made. Uh, I tolerate, but I don't follow. Eh. Yeah, no. Do not eat, and you know the other stuff that Raw is associated with. It does lean in no small part on the socio-political aspects of city building, disasters, etc. And you can go too far in that direction, I would say, but at the same time, I think Roz does an excellent job of balancing it. You know, just to come back to it, I think Well There's Your Problem does a pretty decent job most of the time of balancing the entertainment and the ancillary stuff with the nitty gritty of what caused a disaster. Um, I'm pretty sure it was from the Guadalcanal series because I was just rewatching that, and I remember that being in there. Unless he goes full. Well, I mean, that is something special. Uh, you mentioned that took out a B1. I don't believe I heard of that. I heard about the submarine that took out a train. So, lots of weird stuff happens. Speaking of which, the Well There's Your Problem episode on armored trains might be one of my favorite, like, non-serious episodes. You know, normally there's like a major disaster that they're focused around, but there are a couple of episodes that are focused more on like a concept or in some cases a person. And those like slow burn episodes I think oftentimes are some of the best ones. Uh because and I will stand by this. I need to rewatch it because it's been a while and it is one of the drier ones. But the episode of Well There's Your Problem on print media is possibly one of the best ones to show someone who is just questioning like, hey, why does the news suck so much now? It's like, oh, this is why. Like this makes sense. This multi-decade collapse of the news media due to technological advancements among other things makes a lot of sense. So, you know. Anyway, I'm waiting for the third episode in the Penn Central series. What a disaster. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I remember reading that the Russians had deployed 2 armored trains during the course of the Ukraine invasion thus far. So they exist, you know. Um, what is almost what well, the problem is they resolved it for the most part. Do not do episodes where their takeaway is simply this bolt failed because someone is dumb. Black Box Down also does a decent job of that sort of thing. Um, Even when it is very clear that an accident was caused by pilot error, they like to break down why that pilot might have made that error. One of the most recent episodes I listened to involved a plane going into a high altitude stall because they had accidentally exceeded the performance characteristics of the plane. The pilot, panicking, never pulled or never pushed down to speed up the plane and get out of that stall. He kept pulling up, and eventually the plane impacted the ground in the middle of nowhere. Um, or the captain, I suppose, because the captain and co-captain are technically both pilots. So, despite the fact that that is a pretty cut and dry, like, they weren't paying attention to the performance of the plane versus their altitude, so they exceeded their recommended altitude, so they, pulled, they stalled the plane and slammed it to the ground a couple minutes later. No, it wasn't Air France 447. It was. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. It was a smaller Caribbean airline. Um, so hold on one second. It was West Caribbean Airways Flight 708. West Caribbean 708. But they break down why the pilot might have not understood necessarily why what he was doing was wrong, and also like why he might not have been thinking straight. The airline was bankrupt. This man had not been paid in 6 months. He was moonlighting as a bartender uh, to cover his expenses and probably not getting enough sleep as a result. Uh, the plane was overloaded because the airline didn't really care about plane loading, and they didn't check. The airline didn't check the capabilities of the plane versus the flight plan they gave the captain. Uh, yeah, and so when they're able to look at when you have a show that's able to look at the small picture, the micro of like what failed, the macro of what caused it to fail, and then the entertainment value is also pretty good. Now you have a really good show. The airline is not still in existence. It was shut down after the accident, and of course, as you might expect, went bankrupt shortly thereafter. If you can't pay your pilots for 6 months, you aren't making enough money, guys. They were sitting on the tarmac for 2 hours before takeoff on that very flight because they couldn't figure out how to pay for their fuel. That's how broke this airline was. So, uh, they were flying an outdated plane that they had got from one of those desert plane graveyards, and that's what ended up coming of it. I mean, there was nothing wrong with the plane. Uh, it was just a lot of miscommunication and misunderstandings on the part of the teams that had set up the flight plan, etc., and the pilot not being in the right headspace and not knowing what to do because he might have never been trained properly and he just might have been sleep deprived. Poor management, poor air, poor airline. Uh, but that is one of the more like you come out of it. You get to like the midpoint in the episode and you're like, oh, this makes total sense. It was the pilot who didn't know what he was doing. Okay, he should have pushed down instead of pulled up. He didn't do that, so he killed himself and everyone on board. Makes a lot of sense to me. But then they dig into like basically the systemic failures of that airline and why he would not have known or realized that all he needs to do is push the nose down. And it's like, oh, maybe it isn't just his fault. That is an important takeaway. That those sorts of things from a disaster show are an important takeaway. The other thing is what happened as a result, like what changed as a result. The airlines are really good about this. I know, well, there's your problem. A lot of the time is, well, nothing changed as a result, and nobody went to jail and whatever. Uh, but the the airline industry gives you a lot of like hope for, okay, well, we screwed up and this is what happened, and then as a result of it we made XYZ changes, and so now this thing doesn't happen again. uh Now these things don't happen again. So there was the previous episode to that where a plane was caught in a microburst and crashed on landing. Because of that, it was extraordinarily bad timing and an extraordinarily bad weather event. And uh, the host mentions, that sounds scary, right? You're in a plane and you get caught in a microburst, and the captain and co-captain basically can do nothing to get out of it. Like, they have seconds to react if they even understand exactly what's happening and know exactly what to do to get out of it, which odds are that isn't going to happen. And that sounds scary, but then you look at it and it happened twice, and then it hasn't happened again in the history of aviation. In the last like 30 years or 40 years or something. There has not been a plane caught in a microburst and crashed because of it. So, these things, the industry improves. Airline is the safest form of travel for miles covered, I guess. Yeah, there's more to a collision than a pilot or plane. Very true. Um, I am not sure if I want to mix this one. Oh, we need to finish the corners here. That's right. That's what we were doing. I was like, I have a few minutes left. What's next? Like McAntique, it crystallizes a sentiment that I can never get out of my head. When any institution shakes hands with danger, we all do. That is very true. And if you have an airline that is ignoring the capabilities of its aircraft and not paying its crew and ignoring the capabilities of its crew and what their limits are, then you have a recipe for disaster, and someone is going to pay the price along the way. And because there's more to an accident than a failure in the moment. There are usually things that lead up to it. Uh, and especially this was hammered home with aviation disasters and Black Box Down. There's usually a lot of things that have to go wrong along the way for a plane to crash. They're really designed not to do that. And in order for a plane to get in a situation where it has no choice but to hit the ground and explode, many people have screwed up, and many things have screwed up along the way. So, that's why these things are incredibly rare. That's why planes don't crash every day. So, alright, so we've made it to here. We've made it generously halfway to Pan Am with the basic terrain. So, I hope everyone enjoyed this stream. We said plane ate a missile, yeah. Well, that's a different story. Even still, the incidents with planes taking missiles usually result as a form of, as a result of multiple mistakes made along the way. Anyway, you joined at the end. I mean, these things are, it's almost as if these are at a specific time. It's almost as if they're more or less at the same time every week. Who's to say? Who can predict when I'm going to do under construction? Nobody, really. No one can predict that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week. This is the Admiral, signing off.